Hello and welcome to the Stream of Chaos. My name is Dave and I'll be your keeper of arcane lore for this session of Call of Cthulhu. Today we are continuing or returning to our playthrough of the Order of the Stone. Waving in front of my microphone is a good idea. And you can get your own copy of this over at chaosium.com. You can find all of our VODs collected over on the Chaosium YouTube channel, and you can join us live over on the Chaosium Twitch channel. I'll give a thank you to Roll20, which we'll use throughout this campaign. What's this? What's down there? Are you muted, I think?
The Twitch is like right here, right? We're on the Twitch.
We're on the Twitch, but if they're watching on the YouTube, then it's all
but I'm
cyclical.
assuming there'll be a link to the Twitch channel in the comments.
That's true.
So,
All
you
of
know,
time for
this all
links.
works. I don't know, Dave.
we're
I'm
busy
tired.
people.
I just did a thing and then confused myself and apparently
That's right.
everyone else. Carry on.
Well, I'm going to point at myself because the desire to go and check the Twitch channel comes from within
There's a
you.
gym over here. You can
No,
you
it's
can
in
click
the
on that.
heart, the self.
It doesn't do anything, but you can see what happens. Fully thrown myself. I think that's everything. That's our overview. We return to chapter 2, where our investigators are in the sleepy little town of Greyport in Massachusetts, where they are here to investigate a murder. They believe they have found the killers, and also believe that in those killers they may have found an ally. Our 4 investigators have headed out into the woods to make contact with the Order of the Stone cultists camping there. And although the initial conversation went well, they'd spoken with the eldest member's older sister and gotten a message to pass along, when young Gaspar Green, elevated by his recent heights of spellcasting, was given the opportunity to see the Order's sacred texts. He saw in them a spell that only he and his companions could be trusted with. Gaspar is in a bout of madness.
Nope.
And as we return, things are very quickly escalating. So,
This was not about a madness.
oh, this is indefinite,
This
wasn't
This is
it?
indefinite.
Indefinite insanity.
Even better. So it is both then. You are indefinitely insane and currently experiencing a bout. So I'm gonna set the grander scene, and then I'd like to go around and get that sort of like snapshot of when the record scratch goes, and it's you're wondering how I got here, as Luce is like under the car and everything. We'll describe our characters in that way.
Teenage wasteland or whatever.
Yeah. So it is a moderately sized clearing, at the center of which there is a now burnt down campfire with a few logs placed around on it, with sort of like some miscellaneous camping equipment laid up against areas where they've only just begun to break down their camp. There were 5 people staying here in 3 different tents, 2 of which you haven't really looked inside, but one contained Tobias, the leader, and also the scroll that he had stored within. There is a huge car parked in the only easy exit, and it had been sort of banged up by trees as they were driving to and from, and Luce had taken it upon themselves to conduct some repairs. The remaining cultists, apart from Tobias, are gathered around the perimeter, currently with their robes being pulled over their heads in just the sort of way that will distract them for a teeny tiny moment. And that's the good side. The bad side is the sharp daggers already strapped at their hips and the rifles all within arm's reach that they will use should they need to. Paul, you had mentioned you'd already stepped away, walking back up the path to sort of take up an overwatch position, but Luce was looking at the car, Bernie was nearby, and Gaspar had gone into the tent where, just as you've taken the scroll, you realize there is a flap underneath it that you could possibly dart out of. Otherwise, the only other way is back out the main entrance towards possibly your party, but also everyone else. We'll go around the table and reintroduce our investigators and then get underway. Let's begin with Art.
Hi, I'm Art. I'm playing Luce, the ship's mechanic. Ship's boiler in charge thereof. who is forsaken a ship engine for a car engine just for a brief period of time. So I think the best way to describe my character is like the legs of two like thick overalls and some shit-kicking boots sticking out of the underside of a car. That's pretty much all you see.
Yep.
You know, maybe like a little bit of like rolled up sleeves and the occasional like hand reaching out for whatever wrench or tool or whatever is required. I think Luce is, although you probably wouldn't hear it normally at sea, I think Luce is a hums tuneless nothings while they work kind of person. So I think there is just a little like
to the beat inside your head. All your tools and potential weapons within arm's reach, but vulnerable underneath the truck. We'll go across next to Jackson with Gaspar.
Hey, that's me. I'm Jackson. I'm playing Gaspar Green, ship's wizard, self-appointed ship's wizard, self-appointed questionable ship's wizard who could not handle seeing a second spell. He got his head around one spell okay, but he was a one spell wizard. Second spell has tipped him over the edge, as we're about to find out.
Woohoo! That's right. We'll go next to James.
Absolutely, yes. I am James. I am playing Paul, the first mate. I took a wonderful little stroll. Everything was going okay, and I said, you know what, there's always a chance that the sheriff comes in from town or something like that. So I'm going to take a lovely walk up to this lookout point, which the local cultists have just been leaving cigarette packets around, maybe clean up a little bit, take only pictures, leave only footprints, that sort of thing. But it's going to be a really bad position to sprint back to a fight from.
Having stepped away from it, you're going to have to go charging back through brush to get to your allies. You've also got that tickling feeling in the back of your head that the last time you and Gaspar ran into something otherworldly, Gaspar's instinct was to grab and bolt. So I think just back there's that memory, which may be triggered very soon.
Fortunately, he's in the tent, so it's all fine. You know? I do know he's in there to look at spells, but, you know, books have never scared anybody.
Not once.
No.
Famously.
No.
We'll go lastly across to Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm playing Bernie Green, our illustrious captain, who has just finished extolling to these cultists the virtues of our ship's wizard and how you should definitely let him take a look at this spell as the most qualified.
They vanish for a little while, then you hear
really
rustling.
good about that.
All right. Yeah, this will go well. I feel good about this. So, we are going to handle this in initiative order. That's going to be by dex. I've taken the liberty of already getting everyone's dexterity orders. So, but we're also going to have like a
Did you look at my character sheet without telling me?
It was in the back of the book. I couldn't help it.
I'm horrified.
Aghast, even.
What happened?
You can tell us your dexterity separately as well if you like. We're going to start first though with Gaspar and Tobias to kind of resolve their little kerfuffle and however that goes, and then depending on things we will escalate that out as necessary. Gaspar, what you have the initiative order, and it's also you're going to be instigating anyway. So, what would you like to do? You get the scroll, and your mind goes snap.
What did we say about this particular bout of madness / insanity? It was like paranoia coming back.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
That's sort of.
oh no, these people can't handle this. Only I can.
You very recently were able to open your mind to the void and master it. I think you have a lot more faith in yourself and your companions than this person. Kind of leave it with you to point in any direction you wish. But basically, I think a general distrust of them. They've done nothing to show their competence, and you have.
Good. I think this particular bout of madness will manifest in sprinting. Not fleeing in panic, but fleeing in, for all intents and purposes, it's panic. But thinking to himself... Fleeing in paranoia, I guess, which is also just panic. You can't really flee without a certain amount of panic. I think panic is built into the word flee. But regardless, Pissbolt is our preferred nomenclature. Gonna get out of here. Got to get this scroll away from these people who actually don't know what they're doing. Tobias said he's learned it and he's cast it before?
Tobias says he's learned it. He did not mention if he's cast it before.
Well, that confirms it in my mind. He may have learned it, but he has not cast it. Only I can cast it. So
you have it in your hands.
I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna sprint out, and I think now that I've got the spell, and they might catch me eventually, I think I better start sprinting through the woods up to the house.
Okay.
We're in the halfway point between the town and the
a little less than halfway.
House, right?
Yeah, semantics. Yes. You're,
I think it's about halfway. I think it's just around the corner. I think it's just beyond that copse of trees there. I'll see it in a second. I've got the spell. I'm gonna set it on fire.
Copse of trees does connect, so much is logical. Okay, well, before we get to the copse of trees, you're gonna have to handle the tent and the angry person next to you first. Gaspar, do you have an appropriate skill here, such as my ever favorite sleight of hand, to try and get the jump on this? Because otherwise, as you're looking over the scroll, Tobias is over your shoulder talking about, the long, illustrious history between the Order and these protected fragments. Is there any way you can get the jump, or is it just going to turn to a flat bolt?
I think he won't see it coming if instead of going out the flap of the tent, I just
juke him and go.
Turn around and go under flip under the edge of the back wall.
Okay.
Just lift it up, maybe tear it a bit. And I would argue a dodge roll to just Indiana Jones slide under the gap.
I'll take it. He's reasonably prepared for this, and given we're not trying stealth or anything, I'm going to contest it with my own fighting brawl. So if you could go ahead.
I think you should.
And if you want to make a dodge roll, and we'll do yours first in case you want to spend any luck or anything like that.
That's the other thing. I'm hoping out of character that he was expecting this to happen and he's going to be able to stop me. Ooh.
That's a failure?
Yeah, it is a failure, and it's 45 minus 9 is 36 points of luck, which I don't have. So I'm sorry, Dave. I simply cannot luck this.
Okay. He makes a lunge for you as you go and attempts to grab and succeeds. You are wrenched around the neck as you suddenly hands fling out, and he pulls you back closer. He clearly sees what you were going for, and you are still very much in the grips of madness. He yells loud enough for probably everyone bar Paul to easily hear, although Paul, you will just hear commotion back the way you came. He yells...
got the car started.
He yells, "What do you think you're doing?" and wrenches you inwards, and immediately the other cultists swing around, and Luce and Bernie, you can feel the winds shift. Paul, do you begin to return?
I'm on the edge. We're around cultists who I know have guns or are unstable. I would start to hurry back, yes.
Okay. Gaspar, on he's going to try and take the scroll from you. He's going to try and wrench it from your grip. Are you attempting to hold on to it still?
My instinct says I would try to eat it.
Okay. You can try to do that. This is more you reacting to his thing, so you can try and hold on to it to eat it on your turn. That's fine. We're going to do a contested strength roll for this. And now, contested strength for a fragile document may seem unsafe and likely to damage it. That is correct. Tobias seems to be more keen on keeping it in his own possession than necessarily preserving it.
You both get 50%, and whoever says that no, keep the scroll whole.
They will be the one granted it. Gaspar, can you give me a strength roll, please?
No, I cannot.
He also fails, though, and you've got it. So, wrenching it back and forth, the two of you remain kind of locked for the period inside the tent. Everyone else outside hears the yelling, and Bernie, you can clearly see sort of banging against the side of the tent as they push back and forth within it. Luce, you hear the raised voices and can... Up to you. I'll leave it to you to act on your turn. That is going to be just the first round. Everyone else is made aware of the situation, and Gaspar does not leave, nor does Tobias immediately act yet. But he gives a clear call to action to his cultists, and things are escalating. We immediately go back to the top, which is still going to be Jackson. So,
Excellent.
Gaspar, what would you like to do? And Alex, you're going to be next to act.
I
So
don't know that I am. I think when I move some stats around to accommodate for the advanced age of Bernie, and so I'm 55.
You are still second.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Yeah. What was that?
Good.
I have you and Jim at 50.
Yeah, that's what I said. That was me mostly mouthing because I knew I was muted, but also didn't want to continually interrupt every conversation in this stream. To be like, I think I am 50.
Yeah.
bummer.
So
You
Bernie,
ladies-
congratulations.
okay.
Yeah, you were. You were.
Luce's got
Bummer.
Luce's build. Luce's brick shit house.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Quick old lady, gotcha.
Just
Carry on.
don't
Jackson.
underestimate the wariness of little old ladies.
Good. Gaspar is shouting out, you can't handle this. You can't do it. You haven't cast it yet. I can do it. I can do it. I'm the only one who can do it. It's more dangerous in your hands than my hands. It's mine. It's mine. I earned it. I can cast it. Just jabbering and gibbering. And I'm going to keep on wriggling. Another dodge roll to get out of a grip.
Go for it.
That,
Yeah, actually, I think you
I
may need to
believe
do
you
fighting
can make a
brawl by
dodge
the
roll
time
to try and
to try and
escape,
dip.
yes.
That makes sense to me anyway. Yeah, go ahead and give me a dodge roll, and I will contest it. Yeah.
well, I don't know. Is it a rule to get out of a?
I was gonna quickly
95%
check.
sure, and I'm just confirming.
There's also, I mean, at this point we're in a fighting maneuver, so I think you may need to contest the maneuver with a maneuver of your own, effectively.
It makes sense that you can dodge someone attempting to grapple you, but
He has
once
kind
you're
of
actually grappled,
successfully, yeah.
then
sorry.
you need to elbow, fight
That's
your
kind
way
of where I'm
out
at,
of
yeah.
the grapple, which does generally involve, my favorite acronym thing. Anyone remembers good old Miss Congeniality?
I do not know what that reference is.
I hate to grind it to a halt, but it's a difference in my skill level, and it's
It is.
very invested on in me kind of.
Like,
not
normally
getting
our
out to the woods.
fights are resolved by something blowing up really quickly immediately, and then things wrap up. So
True.
Sometimes including bits of ourselves.
yeah. I think, given you are trying to get out, I'm fine with the dodge for this one.
Alright.
And I'll look it up the remedy later.
To
Or if
escape
someone
when physically restrained by another character, the restrained character may use a maneuver of their own on their turn to break out of a hold, such as a bear hug or a net lock. Otherwise, they are automatically hold until their attacker releases them,
Exciting.
is incapacitated, or suffers a major wound.
Okay.
There's no-
All right. So if I'm
It's
doing
a
a maneuver,
maneuver.
then I'm brawling.
Gaspar, what is your build quickly as well?
You just went to the tab.
I did.
in my own
You saw me
character
speaking
sheet.
on it. Sorry.
That was terrifying. 0, as you already know.
Okay, Tobias is the same then, so it's gonna be a straight roll for you.
Fantastic. All right, I'm gonna brawl my way out of here. Here is the escape maneuver.
That is a failure.
It is an utter failure. 34 points of luck. I simply do not have, Dave. I'm
Man
sorry,
just does not
but
have it. I'll
by
roll
my
my own.
insanity, I cannot luck this.
Uh,
You bastard.
they're just holding it, being held in place, wrenched back and forth. You're trying to yell, but nothing is getting through. The struggle continues. You can see sort of pushing up against the edges of the tent. We go across to Bernie. He's going to be acting next.
Right.
But wait, I want to say this is like a total Call of Cthulhu fight. It's two characters, both spectacularly failing brawl rolls at each other. One of them
He
is
does
sane,
directions.
the other one dressed as a cosplay, as a cultist cosplay with a Tommy gun lying on the side.
There's
of
an
the room, fighting over
extremely
a
silly comment from esports MOBAs, which is wet noodling, which is just when you flail your arms at someone
Yeah.
and no one's health goes down.
That's hilarious.
That's what's happening. They're just wet
Classic.
noodling.
Wizard battle.
Cultist, insane
Oh my god,
investigator.
yes.
Everybody
Wizards
failing
that,
rolls.
that can't do spells are just wet noodling. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think if
I may have forgotten to roll for the number of rounds for this bout of madness.
Yeah,
like
you did.
definitely
Let's
insane
do it
means
now.
One tick sends
Do you
me
want to?
back
Can
into
you
a
can
bout
you
of
whisper
madness.
roll that to me, please, Jackson?
Ooh, go
Slash
on,
GM
then.
roll, I believe. All right, Alex. And Jackson, this will be, you have done 2 rounds of it, for what it's worth.
Please roll a 2.
Good.
Okay.
I rolled it and whispered
You
it,
have.
and I leave that with you,
Okay.
Dave.
Yep, we'll return to
Okay.
that on the next. All right, Alex, what would you like to do?
I think a series of options flashes through. Well, let me look at the intelligence. Stutters through Bernie's brain. Looks at the car. Looks at the abandoned Tommy gun. Makes a run for the tent because the idea of a getaway vehicle, good idea. The idea of making sure that we're the ones with the Tommy gun, also a good idea, possibly a better idea. Dude probably has a knife. That's my grandson. I'm running into the tent. I have no idea whether I'm going to be able to help it. It probably can't help, but that's the only thing I am physically able of doing. Mentally, there are better options. There's a better strategic option here, but that's not what I am emotionally able to do. I'm going to run into the tent.
You charge for
Good
the
plan.
tent, leaping over some of the logs in the way and nearly bowling over one of the cultists who has just now gotten the hood down and is lunging for one of the rifles nearby. As the flaps come open, you see your grandson in a chokehold, although not a particularly good one, and they both have their hands wrapped around one of these fragments. Gaspar has 2 hands on it, pulling it down, and Tobias is ripping it up. For a second, it looks like Gaspar's trying to get it to his mouth, but that can't be
Surely
right.
not.
Tobias has a knife, like, pushed into the belt, and I can't fully remember where I left the Tommy gun. It was very much a Chekhov's Thomas gun in the last one, but I believe he definitely had it when he came out of the car. I would imagine he put it down near the...
Like on a crate, yeah.
in the tent.
I could be wrong, but I think you said he used his knife to weigh the scroll down, so it's probably on the table out of his belt.
100%. And when you got lunged, it probably just tumbled out of the way. Okay.
I could be wrong.
No,
but
you
I
are...
I have a feeling you said something about weighing the scroll down with a couple of things, and I thought you said the knife.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it was the knife and a goblet. No, I think that's completely correct. I think he doesn't have the knife, but I think the Thomas gun is nearby. As the tent flap swings open, you see Gaspar whirl around to look at you. What would you like to do? You could go for the Thomas gun. You could try and interrupt this brawl. You could just kick this dude in the back of the head.
I'd like to try and break the brawl up. I don't think kicking people in heads is good at this juncture. I think de-escalation is probably where I want to go. I have been practicing my fighting brawl though, so if there is a maneuver to like get Tobias into like an arm lock or something, like to like rugby tackle and break Tobias's grip.
You can attempt a maneuver of your own with the goal of separating this grapple. Tobias is going to fight back. Actually, the maneuver of his own is going to be basically getting... that's starting to start chaining because it's opposed by Gaspar. He's just going to try and hit. So he'll try and punch Gaspar in the head. Which, no, it doesn't make sense because he's not opposing. He's going to punch you in the head. So he swings.
Nice.
Cool.
Does he have a penalty die because he's holding me?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fantastic.
There's a success from yourself, a failure from me, and take a penalty die. That didn't do anything. Don't know what that means. Regardless, he's going to fail. Yeah, weird. That's a new feature. So he swings around and tries to clock you, but you scoop and push them afar. The grapple is broken, but they are still both holding onto the scroll as they wrench it back and forth. We go now to Tobias's turn. So inside the tent, Gaspar, you're sort of away from him, holding onto the scroll. Bernie, you've stepped in between the two and are standing in the door line. He's going to yell, "We are betrayed," in a very dramatic sense. And then he's going to let the scroll drop, step back, raise an arm towards Gaspar, and clutching at seemingly just his shirt front, he begins to chant something. And his head is down low, his eyes rolled up so that you can mostly just see whites, and his red hair begins to just slightly float as a wave of sickness begins to fill you both. For now, for this beat, that's all he does. We go across to Jim outside. Jim, can you give me... You hear commotion. Can you give me a listen roll just to see how much information you're acting with?
Certainly. Coming up. As we have established in previous things, Paul, not a great listener.
You just hear commotion, but like you would be on edge. You just don't have the full detail of where everyone is and what's happening.
What I think it's that scene from so many movies where he turns around, starts walking, then hurries a little bit, then as more sort of yelling and the big sounds start, he starts to sprint himself. I'm tearing into the camp, and my idea is that by the time I arrive, there's going to be something to tackle. Yeah. And I've accepted that I'm going to arrive late, and I'm going to sprint in, and whatever the problem is, I'm not really sure. I presume that the commotion's broken out, but I really don't know if we're against the cultists yet or not. I just assume there's going to be something I can crash into at full speed.
I'm actually going to ask you to make a luck roll, I think, because given it's not the listen, it's just you coming in on how's your timing.
Cool. Luck's fail.
Okay. No, great. In that case, you are going to just arrive at... You've spent your full turn chasing through, and you don't get an opportunity to change the current events. Luce, we're going to go to you, and then all of the other cultists are acting.
Shite. Right, okay. Well, I'm going to get myself out from under the car. I assume I was able to do that last time, or was it more like, oh, something's gone wrong, I should, you know?
You can have begun to untangle. I didn't know if you maybe wanted to stay under it or try and sneak around to get in the car or something, so left you where you were. Up to you, basically. You can get out or stay in.
I think, like, as much as everything's going terribly wrong, Luce doesn't do underhanded by default. Like, that's a thing that they sort of have to, like, something... These people, as far as we were attempting to be on friendly terms with them, yes, someone yelling, "We are betrayed," is clearly going to be like, okay, this is going to be very difficult. Also, what the hell has happened? But, like, knew going into this that all of her companions were on board with joining forces with the cultists, so kind of going off the, like, okay, something's happened, and this Thomas fellow, real trigger happy. So something has clearly happened to set him off. I think Luce is just gonna...
You have probably a last opportunity to get the jump on any of these cultists that are on the outside before you are the sole investigator, vulnerable, and underneath a car while they all reach for their guns. Squirreling yourself away under the car and yelling for help is perfectly reasonable. Trying to get round the back and get in the car in between you and them. If you are just standing in the center of it all, there's a good chance they get guns up and shoot at you next.
You might need to shout them down with an intimidate or something if you want to get
anything you can do to just still a little bit of time and let others act, or just come in swinging.
I mean, coming and swinging against a bunch of people with guns is a very good way to just get shot.
Currently, they still have the hoods up and they're getting their hands in, like they're just getting ready. I would consider all of them pretty vulnerable at the moment. It's just that there's
they're stuck in their robes.
Yeah, they're just pulling them on. They want to get their cool outfits on, ready for the cult meeting.
I have a question, Dave. And this is... I do not mind which would. Do any of these people? Do the expressions on the cultists' faces? Have they shifted to the kind of expressions I would expect to see when someone has decided to start a bar fight?
Yeah. You guys aren't great at psychology.
Like they're getting ready for violence and or fighting?
Generally, it is hard to tell with the hoods up and everything. And I think famously, I think your whole party has like no psychology between all of you. What you're going on those are, when I said at the end of last session, when you guys kind of gave them the like, it's Lucas Barnes and here's where we're going, they got a sort of, we have our target, now we act, like we've been waiting, let's get it, let's hit it. So they were pretty amped already. Your impression would be, yeah, if actions are not taken to de-escalate significantly, this probably will go to violence one way or the other. They're also probably aware that you know that they murdered that person, and they don't know who, like, they've shown they're willing to kill, they've shown they're willing to do pretty sketchy things. There's probably a level where they just go, let's just leave them all in a ditch in the woods and go back to our regular lives.
I have no good reasoning for this because I definitely am in the mood to de-escalate things. But my brain is screaming, flip that spanner in your hand and just whack a couple people to like
drive the car into
just,
them.
just the aim is absolutely bar fight more than murder. Like, I just want to knock a couple heads together to try and get these people to see sense. But I am also trying to like deal with the fact that there are 4 people or however many that want to go for guns that have already shown they're trigger happy, that are much more likely to shoot before talk. And I'm like, great, well, I'm not even going to bother talking. I'm just going to smack some heads together.
Yeah, totally
reasonable. As a frequent bar fighter, you probably have a bit of the psychology of that. Not
for sure.
Psychology.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what I was asking. Like, have their expressions changed from we're determined to go and get some people to we are about like we have a look of violence about us right now? Because I think that is the thing that Luce goes,
these strangers who we did not trust have persuaded our leader because they know his sister. The leader will show them our most secret artifact. Hark, we are betrayed from within. It's killing time. Yeah, they've flipped pretty quickly. Going in for the fight as your brawler. One thing would be, if you can get close, it's gonna be harder for them to shoot you, and they're possibly hitting their others. But the other thing that you might want to consider is they don't have the guns yet. You could go for a scoop and just get as many of the guns as possible and just run off.
Dave, I'd trade you one if you'll allow it. I don't want it to mechanically change much. Can I grab like a couple of the guns and use those as like clubs instead of the wrench? Like, just be like, you know what? I'm not planning on using these as guns. I'm just gonna like swing them around and hit people.
I would
with
actually
them.
argue that changes a lot because that's them not getting their guns. So that will probably be a separate thing if you want to try and grab those. I'd probably just do a straight dexterity roll and we'll scale how many guns you can scoop by the level of success. It's just move quick and grab. But that is going to be your action.
Yeah,
and you'll be kind of in the mix.
I'm happy to make it like, I'm getting up close, I'll do a dex. If I succeed, I'll get a gun. If I don't, I'm still going to use my wrench, but to prevent them from having at least maybe 1 or 2 guns, sure.
Okay, go for it.
But my aim is to get close enough that shooting is going to be problematic for them.
You'll be in the mix regardless.
Great. Dex, you say?
Yes, please.
Here we go.
No.
Oi!
Not a fumble, but not a success, so...
Okay. Yeah.
All good.
You push yourself from underneath the car and roll up to charge. As you do, stagger somewhat and get towards the first gun, just as the cultist pulls the hood down, looks at you and fully, like, barks at you and lunges for the gun himself. The two of you are kind of grabbing it, going back and forth for a moment as that one acts, and then the other 3, 2 of them scoop up guns of their own, and one of them just pulls a knife and goes to stab you in the like shoulder. Can you give me a dodge or fight back?
Fight back.
Okay, go ahead and make your own fighting roll.
Not great. Yeah, let's go. What? How is that? How is that even?
We had
That's
a lot
rude.
of green last session, so
Yeah,
I
but
think
it's
this
the
is just...
it's the double, it's the identical that's really
That was
throwing
an
me.
82 right before it, yeah. You can
Yeah,
click
that's true.
once more to say if it's wobbled. We're not going to accept it, but just to say.
Nah, it's okay.
They fell too, and as they lunge, you see these are not trained fighters. You are better than them by a margin. Bernie, who you've been training recently, is better than them. They are probably more handy with the guns. You saw them using them previously, and like they were at least cleaning them, so they have some knowledge. But these are not. These are pretty soft. You know, they're not brawlers. Tries to lunge at you with the knife.
I can knock a couple heads together. I might get a little bit of an extra something on an intimidation if I'm like, fucking stop it.
Yeah. The other one lowers the rifle, pointing at you, and is going to shoot when they get a window. The last swings around and points it in the direction of Paul's footsteps, and Paul, as you come around the corner, is going to bang and take a shot at you. You can attempt to throw yourself prone here and give me a penalty dice, but that is going to be your action for the next round.
I'm not a great dodger, and I just think that it's also narratively pretty cool. Like I kind of sprint in at top speed, and gun goes off. Yeah.
It probably is it's gonna retain this wall of red because they are gonna take a penalty dice. You are a moving target charging around, but they heard you coming, so they're going to make their own roll. That's not going to connect. Penalty dice would have only made it better though. So a shot rings out, and everyone hears the crack of gunfire as one fully shoots at you, Paul. It goes over your shoulder and into the trees behind as you tumble around, and we go back to the top of the round. Inside the tent, Gaspar and Bernie are stepping back and watching as Tobias, hand raised towards Gaspar, chants in the air. Outside, Luce has grappled one of the rifles and is tugging it back and forth with a cultist, while another tries to get a knife into her shoulder. A third has a gun pointed into the brawl, and a fourth, having just fired at Paul sprinting around the corner, reloads. The car is not far behind you, and the Tommy gun is still on the ground just behind Bernie's feet. At the top of the round, we begin again with Jackson, who, blinking,
bad situation.
comes back to his senses. Jackson, Gaspar,
really?
you are indefinite. You are very, very shaky. And as you begin to see Tobias chanting and pointing towards you, worry, if he does something, there's a good chance that sends you straight back into another bout. Like, you are on tender hooks right now. You can feel your brain being just pulled through your ears.
I would like to go floppy. I would like to flop.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sign of surrender.
Go your belly.
And the bout is over. I don't know what came over me. I'm feeling faint, and I'd like to encourage that faint feeling. And I'd like everyone to know I'm feeling faint, so I think I'd just like to flop.
Alex, you're acting next. I'm gonna kind of the two of you can work together on this a bit if you want. I'm going to need a social roll or something to de-escalate this, and it's gonna be hard. Ooh. This was their prized, etc. But if the two of you can pinball something, you will take a bonus dice.
Man, social.
Fast talk, fast flop.
Yeah, fast talk, man. Like, I think I can probably see Gaspon's eyes clear, and then panic.
What just happened? And then like
clarity, panic, play dead.
Roll my eyes back. Do the dry heaving.
Going to go into like. It's not entirely a lie, but it's definitely an exaggerated form of worried, shrieking grandma. My boy, what's wrong with my boy?
I'm gonna roll my eyes back and do some dry heaving. Just
what have you done to my boy?
You're going to need to stop him from acting too. Surrender is not necessarily like you need to. I need something for like a.
I don't know. What? Stop, please. I don't know what happened.
What are you doing to my boy? You've got to stop. He's not well.
Okay. Go ahead and make a fast talk roll.
Stop picking on my boy.
This is going to be hard.
He's so much smaller and weaker than you.
My boy sucks. Oh my god.
There it is. I'm sorry.
Well, I failed, but
It'll be a bonus dice for Gaspar.
All right.
Gaspar, you may as well take it to see if that turns into it. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Roll20 is having a time today.
What is happening? Is that you spamming, Jackson?
I just
or is
wanted
that
a few more rolls.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
just thought we were
Yeah, cool.
for fun.
Okay.
We'll take the hard success though.
Gaspar and Bernie
Hush.
apologize, try to throw themselves clear, and
Also, we did kind of play into his ego again with the he's smaller and weaker than you. You're
he
a superior
sucks.
person.
He's a bad.
Why
He's
are
a
you bullying this child?
He's a bad child. On Tobias's turn, he pauses the chanting and does take in your surrender. You have the scroll still, Gaspar. Are you willing to give that up in your surrender? Would that have been something you could like put forward to be like?
Oh yeah, I would have dropped it. Let go. Just yeah, I'm out. You win.
The scroll sort of like tumbles on the ground, and he puts a foot down to just like stamp on it so that you can't take it back. Also, again, kind of like a sign of disrespect. And then he stops looking down at you and again pauses the chanting, but he's not going to call out to the others yet. We're going to resolve outside sort of separately. And then see how things go. So he does not continue. He has let that fade, and we go back to once again. Jim and Art, you both act on the same number, so you can kind of you're in your own separate things. But if you want to coordinate a little bit, I'm happy for either one of you to go in whichever order you please. You are both in pretty active situations, and from inside you will hear like pleading and stuff, but there's a recent gunshot and things. You don't have the full sense of the interior, and the tent flap has closed. You'll kind of have to handle this independently.
Jumping in from my perspective first, I established throughout the previous sessions that Paul's whole backstory thing was he got shot in the head when he was very younger, and it had like a personality effect on him, which is why he had the lucky bullet as a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Upon running in, he's being shot at. So
What the hell?
That, I barring, like, I'm very happy for Luce to call me differently or events to conspire that. But I think I bellow angrily, run at this guy and try and kill him with a knife.
Yeah, I think that's it. That feels fair, if I'm being honest. Okay. Luce, what's your intention? And we'll resolve these simultaneously.
My intention is while in my head, I've got a hand on a gun. This other person's got a hand on the gun, but we're both like kind of leaning down because this thing was on the ground or on a
You
table.
just shouldered off a knife.
Yeah, and I just kind of want to look at this guy directly and just bellow at him, "We're on the same side, you fuck nugget."
Okay.
While also like going to, swing at him if he doesn't
Okay.
settle the heck down.
Can you make a hard intimidation roll? And
Absolutely.
Jim, can you give me it's gonna be a brawl to try and close the distance and stab?
For sure. I will make a brawl check. 1 moment.
Oh my god. Nice. Okay. Really good. Jim will resolve yours first. They will try and just rebuff with the butt of the weapon. Nowhere close. You can deal your damage. Do you have a knife or just a D4?
I actually just added to my sheet because I had determined that before we left from the boat that I got beyond the switchblade. So I didn't take the massive knife that's 1d8. I took I think I have a 1d6 knife, which is a medium knife. I have a proper knife.
That would be like a pretty big, stabby thing. It's less discreet.
I figured we.
I think it's totally reasonable. You guys came geared for
Yeah.
this and then Barnes. Yeah, go ahead and deal a D6, and you can add your build if you have one.
I believe that I do. I'm just going to.
My bone-handled pocket knife,
Yes.
specifically a pocket knife, is 1d4.
Yeah.
I think a
There's a
1d6
D4.
is like a normal chef's knife, and then like big
Cleaver,
knife is
something.
I've got like a big ass. It's boat themed because I'm a sailorman. But
a
yeah.
Salem.
A sailorman.
It's a technical term. That's 6 damage.
Okay. All right.
Oh no.
That's quite good. I'm going to click a thing. Okay, well done. They finally get a green. We love to see it. Good job, cultist. So Luce, this dude that you're wrestling for the gun, this dude barks at you. You yell, "We're on the same side, fuck nugget," and it pauses him just long enough. He also kind of gets the read of you as he feels the gun being wrestled out of his grip.
Just out of interest, Dave, do any of these people have a build?
No, they're all like just
Great.
0.
I have a build of 1. So even though like I'm not huge, I am physically bigger than everyone else in this situation.
100%, yeah. So
I don't know if that gives me any kind of bonus on intimidation, but at least in this moment,
it's
big and angry.
It's what they certainly begin to factor in. So this one pauses for a moment, and the other one that's lunging sort of is shrugged off. As is happening, Paul closes the distance on the last one, tackles him across the fire pit, and lands on the ground, swinging a knife down towards him. It cuts across the chest, straight through his brown robes, and there is a splash of blood, but the person is still conscious and wrestles you off and away. One of the cultists pauses, the one that you were yelling at. The other one that had a gun trained on you specifically for an opening still doesn't have it. So the only two that are going to act are the one that swung on you with the knife previously and the one that, Paul, you just stabbed. So, Luce, one is going to make an attack at you. You can dodge to just do nothing. You could also respond with a maneuver. So he swings a knife at you and you just slap the knife out of his hand in a further de-escalation.
I'm definitely going to go for a maneuver. The maneuver in question will be to grab his hand and headbutt him, but I'm not doing damage. I'm just trying to do the like,
bam.
Don't even like very, very specifically. You're coming at me a knife. I'm going to grab your wrist, move it aside, and just headbutt you so you're like kind of out of it briefly.
Love it.
Breaking out of whatever stupidness this is. Let's see if it works.
Go ahead and do a fighting brawl of your own.
Great.
And I'll roll mine.
Do I, because this is a maneuver, do I get any bonuses for being bigger, or
no,
do they get penalties?
They get a penalty if they do maneuvers on you. Yours is factored into your damage for the initiating.
Come on. You know what?
1 point off.
I have so little luck left, but I refuse to have this not be a fun time. So have a point. I want this to succeed.
Okay,
this
that's going to be a success.
If they succeed, then obviously I've wasted. But I would like this to be.
I've lost the chat momentarily. We'll scoot that across. There we go. All right, that is a success.
Wait, on them?
No, sorry, I didn't roll. Sorry, no, it was yours. I was just moving my thing across. I'll make my own swing. Nice job, dumbass.
Now we're talking.
I'm so glad. I mean, No, it wouldn't have succeeded if they'd fumbled and I had also failed, but I'm glad.
He probably would have stabbed himself or something at that point.
I'm glad that this succeeded. I would like to make sure he. Actually, I don't give a shit if he stabs himself. Whatever. I wanna headbutt him. From my perspective, I would like what I wanted to do to succeed. Whatever he fumbles with is his problem.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, exactly that. You swing. He swings at you. You grab the arm. He goes to in this miss would probably get one of his allies. You actually stop that as well, with the goal of de-escalating, slam your head into his, the knife drops from his grip, and he stumbles backwards, pausing for a moment. The one that had the gun trained on you sees a brief window, but given you've just knocked back, doesn't take it to shoot, as that would escalate things further. The last one is the one that's engaged with you, Paul. How are you coming in screaming and death? Or I'm trying to get from his read. Because he's
make a sanity check to determine, I think.
Yeah, sure.
It's a
or power roll.
Element.
Yeah. Do a power roll, I think.
Power roll. Sorry.
Either.
That would have failed for a power, and if I make the power again, I fail. So the dice are very firmly on a fail. I think I was running in pretty anxious upon being shot at. I don't stop. I think I flick in, we're fighting here. I'm tense because of those backstory elements. I think I start yelling, "You shot me," which hasn't happened. I haven't been hit.
Yeah.
But I go and I intend to strike him again bodily on the face with my knife, and he would know that that's the case.
Yeah, 100%. He tries
With
to.
the pointy bit or the back of it? Are you trying to kill him or knock him out?
I think he's.
I think at this point, he
shot
tried
at,
to
yeah.
Stab him with the
Yes.
pointy end? Okay.
Yeah.
He is going to try and take your. You've got your own knife going down. He sort of grabs at your hands and tries to twist the knife around. He's just going to stab at you with his own. You can dodge or riposte.
I will attempt to riposte.
Okay.
Sorry, I've lost my brawl skill temporarily. One moment, please, while I here we go. Fail.
Okay. He's going to swing his own. As a success, and getting it up and under, you will take 3 points of damage, reduced by 1 because you have your armor, as he gets it just under the edge and it begins to scrape against your chest. You can feel the sort of the ghost wound of the long removed bullet pulsing in your head. The round ends, and the situation has changed significantly. Gaspar and Bernie inside the tent. Gaspar has blinked away the madness, although still feels on the edge of sanity. Tobias has paused for a moment and seems to be taking in the grovel beneath you and still has his hands up and pointed towards you. Very reminiscent of the sort of Roman emperor with the thumb held balanced, yet to determine life or death. But he seems to be enjoying the situation very much. Outside, you've heard one gunshot go off at least, a yell, a bellow from Garrett, but the tent flap remains closed. Outside, Luce, you have disarmed. Yes, you did. We're on the same side. Luce, you have disarmed one of them and headbutted another. Two of them have been kind of dissuaded for the moment, at least. A third hangs in the balance, gun sort of trained on everyone and taking a step backwards and away. The fourth is fighting for his life underneath Paul, who you can see like just hair hanging down as they both wrestle for a knife that's caught between their two abdomens, trying to plunge it one towards the other. Anyone that steps in the way is likely to be wounded. We return to the top with Gaspar and Bernie set to act. What would the two of you like to do?
Tobias has stopped chanting.
Yep, looking down at you.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I guess it just broke me. I'm sorry. I'm not a wizard. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. I probably shouldn't look at that. Do you wanna? Can you just you know.
I muted Alex.
Maybe a microphone difficulty. I presume enthusiastic agreement.
I agree. He will say, it was too powerful for you. You can't even begin to comprehend. He stoops down to grab it and will push past you dismissively and heading for the doorway. The three of you can, unless there's anything else you'd like to do, exit the tent and see the situation, which has pretty much just been reduced down to a now two-man fight between Paul and this other cultist. But both of them on the sort of literally the tip of a knife being juggled between the two. Can anyone basically, does anyone want to go for like just a rip them away, or yeah, Luce?
Luce has the same response to this as they would two young bucks fighting in a bar or two dogs going at it in the street. They go and find a bucket of water and dump it over both of them.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever they can find to just I'm hoping that they have some kind of washing, because you said they were washing their robes and doing stuff like that.
Out. Yeah.
I just if there is a bucket of cold liquid, I don't care what else is in it. I don't care how dirty, if it's got clothes in it, I don't care. I'm just grabbing it and dumping it over to both of them and just going, barking at them. Stop playing silly buggers. like just something to kind of really drive home this is stupid, and like really with the attitude of someone who's just tired.
Yep.
Like is fully giving off the air, not of, oh no, something terrible's happened, we should be like, it just being like, this is stupid.
We're wasting time.
Stop it.
Stop it. Awesome.
Yeah, Luce is absolutely leaning into the like, yeah, that energy to try and kind of really give the vibe of like, this was not the way that we expected this to go, and you're all acting like idiots.
Yep. Paul, my impression of you would be, so what's your intent here?
I think the combination of getting, I'm not actually in a bout of madness.
No,
it's just a very sensitive area. I think the combination of a cut to the hand and having water dumped across me shakes me out of it a little bit. Not thrilled with this guy though. So I think that there's probably I do the equivalent of like dillying for a turn. And if he does sort of the same, we separate and as young bucks having fought, glare at each other and
despite that the Paul is like in his 30s or something.
But I'm having a renaissance and I have a leather jacket.
Yeah, he's cool now. Have you
True.
heard? Okay. With you willing to disengage, Luce, I will just ask you to make a probably just yet another intimidation roll. You've done well in this. This is going to be a regular success now because I think between the water and just looking to get people away and do no further damage. And the risk is just going to be to make a swipe at Paul before the two of you separate. Okay.
Success.
Well handled.
Just not pleased about whatever the hell just happened. Very much there is a world to save. Can we please focus?
Okay. All things considered, fairly unscathed. Tension hangs in the air, and for a moment there's silence as the 9 of you take one another in. 2 have been wounded. Paul's got a scratch, and the man that he lunged at has a quite serious sort of like go to the hospital scale wound from your boat knife that took him across the collarbone.
Oh, heck.
Tobias is looking 40, but in control, and has stopped to scoop up his Tommy gun once again, which he holds sort of lazily across his forearm, balanced in place, the scroll held in the other. He's looking across the 4 of you with a real, what has my sister sent me? And doesn't seem impressed.
Kind of fair.
What would the 4 of you like to do?
Maybe we just go. We should just leave. Let's just leave. We've caused a problem. I'm sorry. We don't know what came over us. We're just gonna go. Let's just go.
We're going to still going to the house, right?
Yes. Maybe just not with these guys.
If you head to that house, you're as likely to get in our way as anything else.
Oh, I'm not saying that we're going to the house out loud.
Oh, okay.
That's unless
like that, because
unless Gaspar's asking, are we still going to the house?
I probably mentioned like under the breath, like we're still on,
We
right?
have a ship,
We can still do
so-
it without these guys.
Gonna just elbow him. Light elbowing.
And then just
Yeah.
move to disengage.
Yeah. Just kind of back up a bit, get to a point, bringing Gaspar with me back up into where Paul and Luce are.
You gather.
The 4 of us are arrayed together.
I think I start to back up too, and I say loud enough, not intending to be antagonistic, but just so it's on the table for multiple people. He needs a hospital, and he'll need to be driven there, and that means you can't take the car to the house, and you'll be down somebody because he can't drive himself.
He knows what he signed up for. We all swore an oath in blood, and more will be spilt before this is done. He's fine. The one that that Tobias is referring to seems less enthusiastic, and you can see him beginning to go a bit pale. But he does nod, and the others rallying behind Tobias, you can see clearly less faith in the leadership. The whole crew, as you're looking at from their side, they're looking at you, And Tobias, at least, is probably not super impressed. From your side, looking at them, this is like 4 like idiots and their leader. The leader's probably the most dangerous, but not because he's the most competent, just because he's the most confident, you know? Like, they're like to get someone killed, but they are at this point rejecting your help and sending you back. And Tobias will say, damn Missy, damn who she sends, I don't need her help. We'll do this ourselves, as we were always going to. Thanks for the directions. Get in the car. And then he's going to head towards the automobile.
Cool. Enjoy. Best of luck. Hope you don't all go crazy and die. Goodbye.
As you're backing away towards the path. Okay. The engine roars to life, cleaned by
Don't
Luce.
look at it directly.
And they begin to reverse away as one of them follows your words and looks back to another, but they heel back and begin to slowly, sort of jerkily reverse down the road they came, back towards the
race is
highway.
on.
It will take them towards...
The ship?
Okay. So,
Is it a race?
It's a race.
We could just stay here, search the camp really damn thoroughly at this point. Except we're going to arrive second, but arrive better stocked.
Even if we're not working together, I think us both groups being there is gonna even the odds a bit.
you have all...
I assume
you-
we would. Did we see Tobias with the scroll? Like he would
Yes.
have taken the scroll with
He's got
him?
the scroll
Yeah.
and his gun. They've all loaded
He's got
up
the
on
scroll, he's got the
weapons.
gun, he's got his knife.
As far as a race is concerned, they will probably win. Carter boat definitely wins because you have to go, like you said, you're about halfway there. You have to go all the way back to the boat, and then it is a more circuitous route to the sea, but you would come in through the cove. Your probably only chance to actually beat them would be to go through the woods and try and just emerge directly on foot.
Boat's got the symbol on it. Boat's got the ward. We
Yeah,
can't.
and
Yes.
like
We can't
at this
go
point
without
in
the ward.
time, I think us getting there first. I'll say this in character. If we get there before they do, they're just gonna be pissed off. But if they're already in it and realizing, that they may have gotten in over their heads,
Then we'll
then
be
us
the
rocking up
Saras.
with some level of, hey, you didn't want us here, but you're in a shite situation, so take what you can get. It entirely depends on how competent they are, and God forbid they actually do something right. We come in and don't have to do anything at all. So at this point, we arrive when we arrive, and either they're in dire straits and need our assistance, in which case, great, we can help. But if they're fine, then we can just mosey on away or play, keepsy backsies with the giant squid in the water or whatever it is.
God, I
Whatever.
hope it's not a giant squid.
Well, I mean, I'd rather it be a giant squid than a giant whatever that was. That thing did not look like it'd make good calamari.
Luckily, we've
But
got
no
a
need
ward
to
against
dawdle,
it,
right?
and we're not getting there before them regardless.
We don't
As
want
quick
to
as we
search
go
the
now,
camp quick.
we're not beating them there. So let's assume
No.
we're getting in after the
So
action
let's get
started.
ourselves good and proper and paired for whatever's going to happen.
Are we
Gasper,
close?
do we need to tie you somewhere safe so you don't, yeet yourself off the side of the boat or something?
No, I'm sorry. It was the scroll. I just had a I don't know, I guess allergic reaction or something to the scroll. But as
With all
long as
due
there's no more of that, it'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah, no more of that.
With all due respect, Captain, we might need to have a backup plan for the boy.
Oh,
A backup plan.
yeah.
As in, we might need to find a way to secure you to the boat so you don't go throwing yourself in the sea. Because I don't particularly want to dive in and try and get you out if there's a giant squid in the water trying to eat my face. Or the rest of me.
I think I'll be good. I mean,
Gasper,
you know,
You're a good lad.
I'll be in the ward. I'll be in the ward. We got the ward. Got to keep you safe and.
the
and,
ward
you know,
will protect us from physical harm. I don't know that it's going to protect us from mental
Do you remember
discipline.
what it was like when we started seeing all this shit for the first time, Gus? But do you remember what that felt like in your head? Odds are we're about to go see some more unpleasant things for the first time. Some brand new horrors to incorporate into our simple seafaring
Maybe, yeah.
life. And if you think that that is going to be a problem, you need to be honest with us about that. I mean, we're not going to think any less of you. You're still part of the crew. You're still family. But if you don't think that's something that you're going to be able to handle, you're putting the rest of us at risk by not telling us.
For what it's worth, Gasper, that piece of work you did on the front of the boat, that's incredible. No one else on this ship could have done that.
I don't even know what it is, really.
Fancy pictures, I think. You've got a brain in you that's something else, honestly. So, we'd like to protect that brain on your behalf. We'd also like to protect the body it lives in, because you kind of need one of those for your brain to function. But either way, this is not about us not trusting you. This is not about us not thinking you're competent, because goddamn, man, you're competent. Maybe not on a ship. Maybe not physically, but mentally, oh boy. You got marbles up there. Quite a few.
I just want to be free to help.
Absolutely.
Just want to be
We
able to
can
help.
make sure that you help, but we need to have a backup plan, because if something goes, we don't want you going with it. You understand me?
Couple of slugs of Navy strength before we leave, and down below deck until we're sure it's safe, and that should solve it for everyone, right?
I mean, I'm not against the idea of a couple of swigs of Navy strength for the young man, just to give him a bit of a buffer. But I do think we need everyone hands on deck. Ideally, Gasper, if it's all right with you, we have some kind of way of securing you to the boat, or to one of us, or something like that, so that if something does happen, you're not going far. It's a compromise.
All right. Well,
We'll work out. You tell us what you're comfortable with, but at the end of the day, it does need to be something that makes sure that you stay safe, or at least if you do decide to throw yourself off the side of the boat, you're not going far, and we've got something to pull you back in with. Also, no offense, we're probably not going to give you anything pointy.
I want to make an Odysseus and the Sirens reference, but I feel like Paul didn't get past the Iliad. I have to. It's long.
Yeah, Jim, harsh. Come on. I think Paul could get past the Iliad. I believe in you. Okay.
Also, the not pointy thing is so you can't, if we decide to tie you to a rope or something, you can't cut it. Also,
all right.
please don't stab anyone.
Okay.
If you need to put me on a lead, then guess I'm getting a leash.
We don't want to. What we need to do is keep you safe. All right?
The surly teenager comes back. You get an eye roll and then a back turn and then a skulk.
And begin to walk your way back.
Gaspar. We're not going to do it against your will, but if you're refusing to do this, we are locking you in a cabin.
You get no response, but it's the kind of surly teenager response where you've already won the argument.
Yeah, it just doesn't want to play anymore. Okay. All right. The four of you make your way back through the woods, and you hear the car receding, and then step back out into Greyport once again. Make your way down towards the docks, where you can find the Foggy Sea. The other ship, the Sea's Gifts, has still not returned, and Joe is aboard and waiting. If you want to,
I really hope that ship doesn't goddamn turn. I'm just expecting them to roll on in halfway through the next scene and be like, "Hey, we're here too," and be
what's
like,
up?
"Cool,
Bye.
cool,
We no
cool."
longer are.
Yeah.
You want to deal with a giant death squid? Be our guest.
Get amongst it.
There was a discussion of Navy strength, and I think we've actually established before that this is a pretty clean boat. You don't have liquor.
Risk?
Not at least to that point. However, I mean, you at least believe there's a smuggling operation that may be happening here.
We've established we don't smuggle. We've also established we have like, I did say we were drinking beer, but whether that was like legitimately something we
probably
have or
just
not.
for the quantities to get good and slosh.
Yeah,
But I'm
also-
wondering whether we have like a
Someone
very
probably has a
small thing of
flask.
like medicinal.
Everyone has
essentially.
it.
not.
Personally, sure.
I think in the past, I think it's been established that Bernie runs a pretty tight ship and doesn't.
It's too much
we
of a
did
risk.
say that, yeah.
And
it
also,
is too much of a risk for a fishing vessel in crossing, various waters. As soon as you get pretty thoroughly searched, and if you do have any.
And in Prohibition, you need to basically, unless one of your characters begins with like saying that they have something, or you make efforts to do so. Like none of you are, drinkers or really seek these things out. So you probably don't actually have something like this, unless you want to try and source it before heading out.
That's very illegal.
It is. That's against the rules.
It's a. I have a vague recollection that like medicinal was a thing that was.
We said it's not
like
illegal to drink alcohol, but it's illegal to buy it or sell it or transport it.
Pharmacies can be licensed to purchase alcohol, as in methanol, to then
with a doctor's note.
Basically you have to be a licensed pharmaceutical supply place, and you can then purchase it legally, but it is not like you're purchasing whiskey. You were purchasing methanol, and you were purchasing it for the purposes of cosmetics and pharmaceuticals. And then if you would like to use that methanol to create a bathtub
that's
gin,
on you. Yeah,
that's on you, and that is typically what happened.
I think
like medicinal alcohol was not like medically approved whiskey. It was like methanol.
I think it could be quite difficult to source, actually, especially since we've burnt a couple of bridges in town. We're suspicious because the town's on edge anyway. Maybe it's a Navy strength punch on the arm,
on the back.
a good
Navy strength coffee. It's like 4 shots.
Clean comedy.
I might stick my head into wherever Joe happens to be.
Sure.
And just go, you don't happen to have or know anywhere where we could get a couple of drams of Navy strength, do you?
Captain's been clear this is a clean ship.
That's fair.
What do you need it for?
Didn't answer the question.
The boys having a bit of a time, and we'd like to give him a little Dutch courage, if you know what I mean, with the captain's approval.
Can I get I think I'm asking for a persuasion or a charm from someone. Gaspar, it makes a lot of sense. You have spoken with Joe before. He showed you around a little bit. If you gave the impression that this would, this would help. No?
Nope.
Alternatively,
Silly Teenager is back.
Silly is so back.
I don't know if this is like first mate kind of thing. Like whether
pretty much anyone.
Jim.
You all have relationships.
To get on well with
you all have
Joe.
Relationships, yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy to make the charm.
The only thing, I guess, Luce, you haven't mentioned too much about the details of it. But Paul, you just kind of are, as you said before, passively charming. If Luce mentioned this and then Joe just went, Captain wants a clean ship, and then it possibly came up how it might help, then that may turn things. So, Paul, if you'd like to make a roll, please.
For sure. I don't think it's worth the 15 points of luck for it. I think, I also think Paul's still like a bit. I've got like lank wet hair still, which I've sort of like slicked back a little bit. Like he gives a little smile that doesn't quite pull off the I've just come out of a pool and I'm a model thing. More like I'm a little bedraggled.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, not even sure where Joe might have kept it if he did have it. So probably never even aboard. Dramless, it heads towards sort of midday afternoon. The ship can depart.
Yeah, we get the ship ready as quickly as possible. I think there is a brief, as we're casting off a brief, all hands meeting, all hands on deck, including Gaspar's. I think probably what we do with Gaspar is make sure that there is like a coil of rope with him at all times, or like across his chest, so that if we need to do a quick grab, we can do a quick grab.
I mean, he's just running, right? Like
at the moment.
Yeah.
But we have seen people react to the horrible things in myriad different ways.
Yeah, Paul.
The main
Yeah,
thing...
okay, no, yeah, sorry. But
Yeah,
time
Paul.
up. I was on your side.
Let's feed the monster, Paul. Let's.
But we've all,
you know.
more to the point, we've all lost some sanity over this. Like we've all seen these things. We all know what it feels like to see these things, regardless of how it affected us, regardless of whether we, you know, whether it affected us in measurable ways that other people could see. We know what it feels like, and I don't think it's predictable.
I agree. So
assuming he's just
Also-
running away, assuming any of us are going to be completely even keeled when we see the next terrible thing is, I think, a mistake.
just got to be ready.
Jasper, you have tried to run away twice though, so
The
Right. Do
main
it
thing
again.
for this, as I said, is not about stopping you from doing 90% of what you need to do. It is purely, if you decide to throw yourself in the water, there's big nasties in there, and I'd rather pull you up with a rope than dive in after you.
but keep an eye on each other, everybody. Luce in particular, you've shown yourself time and time again during this to be very level-headed, quick to react, and able to break up problems when they arise. I'm going to be relying on you quite a lot for this, I think.
Alright.
To be able to get to places, and to... We need to keep an eye on each other. I think all of us are at risk as we go into this.
Look, I don't think I can talk anyone out of a problem, but I can definitely lie on top of them until they come to their senses.
And thus far, that seems to have been the most effective solution, to be honest.
Yeah, alright. Well, let's see what we can do.
Right.
Aye, Captain.
Let's go try and stop some unknowable horror from emerging into the world and killing everybody, I guess. And you know what? Those cultists they're people, but they're our second priority here.
And I presume that we just planned that ultimately we're going to have to go to land. So Joe's going to stay on the boat and guard it and have plausible deniability / our wills to sail away with.
Seems likely. Yeah.
Right?
Joe has instructions loosely on what to do with all of our estates if we die. And by estates, I mean
Contents
my
of
wrench and a couple of bucks.
You got money. We got pretty handsomely
I
paid for the
don't-
last bit.
So, given that we didn't do any kind of credit rating increase for getting that additional money, I'm fully just saying 90% of that went back to my mum.
$100.
Yeah,
Because all of my backstory is like I have a sick mum that I gotta look after. So 90% of I still have money in my pocket, but that money is with my mom for benefit.
Joe is probably the most suited to be probably the only one on the ship, probably second to Paul as the most just all-rounder. That said, he is present throughout this, and I have shared his character sheet with all of you. You have access to it, so consider Joe is there as a resource. He doesn't, we don't need to just offer. If you want someone who has a gun, he can do things with his gun. You all have a pretty good sense of his personality and his goals, and I think definitely doesn't want police attention or to die, but also is pretty pro this little group. So
The vibe that I
relax to
got
defend
was is loyal to the people that he ties his flag to for the time that he is tied to them, and at some point he will leave, and it is neither a betrayal nor
he
a
will just go. Yeah.
he will just go because it's time for him to go, but up until that point he is with us and 100% on our side was what I got from the conversation
That's
that
it.
I
Definitely
somehow got a
definitely would've
critical on.
betrayed. Yeah, that's it.
I trust this man implicitly.
The boy.
What happens when he goes crazy? That's neither here nor there.
A separate
but-
problem. Okay. The boat is untied and begins to pull away into the harbor, turnabout, and take to the sea. You have about an hour before you will arrive, when it will still be early afternoon. Tracing your hand along the map, Bernie, you reckon the others will have been there for at least half an hour 45 by the time you get there. More than enough time to have completed a search of the area. You expect
Unimpeded.
unimpeded.
Impeded? We'll see.
We'll see. As you sail, you're reminded of that first, the voyage out on the SS Champagne. But this has none of that, like, heavy storms. But those were handleable. That was manageable. That was a threat you understood well. Stark weather. This is sailing towards something that you're still trying to comprehend. And I want to kind of go around the table and get a little introspective beat from everyone on how they're handling this voyage and how they're steeling themselves for what is to come. What is your approach to this as far as the other cultists there? And ultimately, I guess, why have you taken this upon yourself? You've sent the cultists to their task. Perhaps you could just keep going. It's probably a beat whereas the ship begins to turn towards the bay. If you keep going, that's the way to Boston. Actually, no, Bernie, you'll be the last one if we go around in a traditional table order. That's probably the beat. I think that'd be fun for you because you're at the helm. We'll go in our normal order. Art first. So down in the hold, alone with the engine, hearing it thunder and churn, and it can almost drown out the doubts in your head. You handled yourself well in the fight, but you saw extreme actions from others, and you felt very much the risk of death, and that was just a mortal death. You don't know what happens to one's body, let alone soul, when one of those creatures rips it out. How are you handling this?
We've established Luce, I don't think is particularly religious, but is superstitious. Does have little rituals and things that they do to try and keep the sea a little safer. I don't know if we've touched on this part of Luce's backstory, but Luce was introduced to the sea because her dad was a seaman. And sailor. I mean, both are true. Fishermen, and they went sailing quite a lot. They worked together, especially when Luce was younger. But there was a fateful fishing trip, voyage, that because Luce's mum is not well, Luce decided to stay and look after their mother during a particularly bad flare-up of whatever it is that Luce's mother has at this point in the time. They are unwell, who knows. And on that voyage, the ship went down and all hands were lost. So Luce's dad is no longer around. And she does blame herself a little for that. She does have questions about, well, what if I was on that ship? Could I have done something to prevent that? And there's been a little bit of moving on, but that's still a thing that sits with them. They are very protective of this crew because they don't want something like that to happen. They take great pride in their work. They've always been good with practical matters. So I think there's an element of... There's probably a little bit of after the fight, went into the cabin and cleaned up. There's probably a bit of blood somewhere. And they will take whatever cloth they used to clean themselves up and throw that into the boiler. There is a superstition that if you want a good haul when fishing, you need to spill blood before you go. That's why Luce regularly gets into bar fights before going out for a season. And so while it isn't quite the same thing, it's sort of, I'm looking for luck to give me a bit of a hand here in whatever we're doing. So let me just, do a little sacrifice of blood into the boiler to kind of give it that sort of the same vibe of maybe Lady Luck come. I'm not asking for it because that would be rude and definitely against the rules, but something to turn Lady Luck's eye in our direction. And then I don't think Luce has any pictures of her father or mother like on the ship, because that would be questions and also could get damaged or lost. But I think there's an element of maybe like holding on similarly, like they wear something around their neck that is representative of their father. Oh no, the pocket knife, the bone-handled pocket knife, I think was from their dad. So they'll pull that out and just like look at it, talk to it, and sort of kind of quietly go, if you're listening, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not even sure if this is entirely the right thing to do. But if it means that we can keep the sea safe, we can keep your resting place quiet, safe. Fuck it. I'll do it. For you. For Ma. Kisses it and puts it back in the pocket.
Awesome.
And gets back to hammering and kicking a giant hot boiler full of coals.
And blood.
Not too
This
much.
ship is so cool. It's got a giant rune on the front and it's fueled by blood-soaked shirts. This thing kicks ass.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll go across to Jackson with Gaspar. And
Yeah, boy.
well, I think it stands to reason we might find you on the prow of the ship, standing in your ward that you've created. And as you're there, looking out over the sort of windy seas, partially shirking duty, perhaps, in that, you know, you're saying so like in that like sulken manner that you're currently in, but also standing within your own miraculous creation. I'd like to hear, how you're feeling, and particularly how you're feeling about the rest of the crew's plans for if you snap. Because it can't be confident-inspiring to hear their lack of confidence.
It is not, sir. I'll probably take it upon myself to like make a big show of finding a rope and
Like, really? Yeah.
measuring it out, tying it off to some part of the boat, and then
Having a
just
sigh. Yeah.
walking around and seeing how far I can get. Just make sure everyone can see me going, all right, I can get to this part of the boat, and yep, all right, so if I fall in there, I'll be able to swim that far. And then, think to myself, well, I've done it. They've seen me do it. I know enough knots to kind of put in a quick release of some kind.
I am really excited because I've just remembered a mechanic I don't use very frequently.
Go on.
When you're indefinitely insane, you can suffer...
As I am.
Yeah, you can basically suffer delusions. And they typically manifest based on your phobias and things. And you are paranoid and you fear how others, you don't necessarily trust them. And you'd kind of gotten to a point where the crew was on your side and you were able to stand fast with them. But as you're pacing, you keep on seeing them like watching you. Like you go past the hold and you see Paul, and he's probably just cleaning that knife because it would be bad to put it away wet, but he's looking like right at you as he does it. And they have all collectively overruled your sanity, which is completely sane. You're in a great space. And decided that when you go into this incredibly dangerous situation, you should be tied up. Is it for your protection? Or is it for sacrifice?
Bait.
Are there any preparations you might like to make to look after yourself as we go into this next stage?
I'm wondering either like...
This boat has to have a plug somewhere.
Yeah, I'll find the bung.
Do not. Do not
To not
let
sink
him
my
near
multiple
the
I am
bunghole.
absolutely certain that if this ship does, which I don't think it does because it's not a rowboat,
If it
Luce
did,
has
I'd fuck it the fuck
absolutely
up.
welded that thing
Yes.
shut thanks to what
I like the idea that all ships, regardless of size, container ships, whatever, are at the mercy of a single plug somewhere. Ideally, put in a
big sink one.
yeah, and with like a long
Kick it over.
trailing, beaded metal
Yeah,
chain
yeah.
that you can
It's so
trim
like
on.
Looney Tunes of like pulling up a chain and the plug coming out of the bottom
ocean
of the ocean
just-
and
That's how you're gonna get
Going
rid of the big
somewhere.
bad.
So I think my options are like redo the knot in such a way that it looks secure, but it's got like a quick release, or stashing a knife somewhere on my person.
Oh, yep.
But definitely the paranoia is driving me to uncooperation.
I've got one more pitch that might suit. Your magic points
Hit
will be
me.
fully restored at this point. Have all
Nice.
of them back. You could cast. You
8
could
of them.
attempt to get a personal protective ward, by painting it on your torso or something to that effect. You could, of course, if it gets marred, it won't work. You could try and sneak a weapon that you will have on your person, so that you do have a knife if you do get tied down, so that you can shimmy it out and cut yourself free.
Let me just check the spell, because I think it takes 4 rounds to draw the thing,
Yeah.
and 1 round to activate it. So yeah, I can't really do that on the fly. Yeah, I kind of like that. Well, if I've got time, I should like to stash a knife. I think maybe I probably can't fool a bunch of other sailors into tying a fake knot. But yeah, stash a knife in my person.
Mm-hmm.
And put the ward symbol on me.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
And like there's some kind of fantasy playing along where like I'll show them, I'll be the hero. If anyone's getting out of this alive, it might just be me.
Absolutely. You find the knife, and I think, despite like intentions and your own paranoia, I think you aren't being like people have jobs and things, so you're able to spirit it away and tuck it into your boot.
And you've already established that sulky teenager has returned full force, so we assume you were simply sulking.
Yeah. As you're like in the kitchen bustling
It's
around,
the perfect cover.
and then you go and you seat yourself inside your own runes, the ward, to use it as like a reference, and then go to paint it on your own body using the paint that Lucid produced for like doing a temporary one on the sails or something. Where do you want to paint it? Do you want to do it on your torso? Do you want to do a small one on your hands? Note that if it gets broken, it does not work. So paint's like a pretty temporary thing, and there's a good thing, if you take damage or get rolled or something, it may get scuffed. Long term, you want to look at like tattoo or something would be cool.
That's exactly what I just thought of. Yeah,
Sick.
sailor tattoos. But right now, I think under my shirt would be the best place,
Okay.
so that it's covered and not prone to dismemberment.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, you sit yourself down, unbuttoning, and go to paint this large rune on yourself and cast the spell. There's no need to make a roll for the second one. It will cost you...
I have mastered it.
You've mastered. It will cost you 4 mana points. Magic points is enough. But
And that's now. That's not.
that'll be
I wonder aloud.
that'll be now as you cast. And because you are activating this. This is an active.
Oh, of course, that's
piece.
right. You activate it. Yeah, first. That's right.
It's only if you want to do a trap one.
You do the trap thing when you activate it later. That's fine.
that's right.
All right, great.
Perfect.
Another 4 magic points down.
You're able to cast it and then slowly button up your shirt. Is there anything else that's going through your mind, or just stealing yourself for what's to come?
I will show them. I will show them all,
He will.
etc.
Button up your shirt and look out over the horizon where you can begin to see the cove coming into view. Down below deck, or probably just moving about everywhere he's needed. You've got a, moderate cut. You also fully almost killed that guy. That was wild.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Let me summarize it in a single word: competence. Everything about this entire disastrous thing has been about competence. We were originally pulled into this whole mess by a professor taking on a ridiculous idea, and he was completely unprepared for what he was doing, which was triggered by cultists who were unprepared for what they were doing. When we met the older sister, whose name I've temporarily forgotten, she completely didn't trust us because she was out of her depth and incompetent. The Order of the Stone, incompetent. The sheriffs at Greyport, incompetent. The criminals trying to keep themselves together, incompetent. It's incompetency all the way down. The people I think that shot Paul by accident as he was a bystander when he was younger, incompetence. I think that he's sort of just grumpy. I do all the work kind of thing. Like I'm the only one doing it right. He's just grumbling to himself. It's probably just a rationalization and a way to sort of not think about stuff. I think that from a positive perspective, he's like, you know what? We're here now. We're going to do it right, and we're going to fix this. And he feels personally invested as you know, somebody who has to someone has to be doing this competently. And then the second part of it all is, man, this probably all would have just been fine if I had just aimed a bit better with that knife and killed the guy. And that he pushes that back. He's like, no. It would have made things worse. It would have started more fights, and it would have swung the odds. And now we'd already be there in a car. And no, not a good way to think. And that's when he's shoving the knife, gazing at her.
Yeah. That's awesome. We've previously, your bout of madness lent you towards like looking to help, looking to assist others in achieving their goals. But it sounds to me that Paul is leaning more towards I'll get it done. Do you think that shifts what will happen if you...
That's a really good point. Yeah, it's always good to shift things a bit. Let's not go too far away from it. So how about I'm going to help because you can't do it without me. So in fact, you know what? I'll take the lead.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
You'll oversee, you'll show them how it's done and be there to personally fulfill whatever the task is. You will attempt it single-handedly while showing or whatever. Yeah. Awesome. You make your final preparations and prepare.
Could I make a very quick first aid check on myself just to heal up some of that cut?
Go for it. Give me a first aid roll, please.
Thank you very much.
See if you can have a point.
Incompetence. I hate it. I don't get the point.
You pour the last of the medicinal alcohol down your shirt and then you fuck. We're looking for... Ow.
Did that help? Maybe.
You sew it up and you get a clean shirt, though, at least. We'll check in lastly with Captain Bernie Green, who, at the helm, seeing your currently grandson's like seated on the bow, like painting onto his chest and then closing up the shirt.
Yeah, I think Gaspar went somewhere that he thought was private, and I'm like up at the wheel, like I'm up on it, like just I can see everything, and I'm like, righto. You do you, kiddo.
He's done it once. It's gotta be. I mean, how are you feeling? I mean,
there's no evidence I've done it once. Like we made the dice rolls, but no one's seen whether this thing works or not.
I think that is true, but I think there is a feeling that you certainly have around it. Yeah, you're right though. Maybe the others just don't know yet.
You do you, kid.
Captain, I mean, when we went to the SS Champagne, that was you were deceived on some level, you know. You weren't told the whole
100%.
truth. This one you're going into with a lot more of the story, and as the ship begins to approach the cove, you kind of do see those two paths before you. One takes you back to Boston and the lives that you and your crew had, which was hard work, but it was understood and it was rewarding in its own way.
All I ever wanted.
The other way is great personal risk, not just to your bodies, but to your reputation, the very souls, possibly reality more.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And I guess what's going through your head here, and which way do you go?
Part of a life on the sea is freedom. In fact, almost all of a life on the sea is freedom. I've made the choices I've made. for decades to just not be obligated to do bloody anything except what I want to do, which is be on the sea and make my own life and my own money and not really have to worry about what is going on in the rest of the world, who is in charge, who is not, who is struggling. Every single choice I've made has been to get me here on this boat with a crew I love and trust, and no obligation to the rest of the world, damn them all. Unfortunately, having witnessed what may in fact be damning them all, it turns out it's pretty horrible, and there is a terrible thing about being fundamentally not a bad person. And everything I saw on the boat, on the SS Champagne, everything that happened to my crew, that nearly happened to my crew, that happened to everybody on that boat. As terrified as I am of that happening to me and my crew, I don't want that to happen to anybody else. I've seen how horrible it is, and the thought that we could maybe stop it is bizarre, and it's insane, and may also be true that the four of us can, fix this or keep it at bay for a little while is ridiculous, and it seems maybe true. And I hate being obligated to do anything. More than anything else, I hate that, but I think we are obligated. I think I'm looking for an excuse to sail back to Boston. I think I'm looking at the winds and the waves and looking for a storm that's strolling in, and looking for that patch of bad weather over the cove that we need to be in, that would clearly indicate it's too dangerous to go there and we should just take the fair wind back to Boston, and that's not happening. All signs point to us being the ones who can help with this, and I hate that so much. I hate that so much.
It's almost like some other hand takes the wheel and turns it to bring you about, and the foggy sea turns.
And I'm so mad at these cultists. Like, you have no idea. They're so incompetent, and if they had a handle on this, like genuinely, if they had twice as many people and they rolled up without silly robes and sacrificial knives, and like without the trappings of honestly what looks like a rich person's board game, I don't think I would feel quite as obligated to be doing this, to be putting myself, my boat, and my crew at risk to do this. If they really looked like they could handle it, sure, maybe I would have gone back to Boston. They pretty clearly can't handle it. They can't handle themselves. They can't handle setting up a campsite and retaining it in a city or in a small town for a couple of days without causing problems. They can't handle shit. So we have to do this.
So it falls to you.
I'm so mad at them. The Order of the Stone can get absolutely wrecked.
Well, they might.
They just might.
They just might. It is going to be tough to convince Bernie to lift a single finger to save any of them at this point.
And that is pretty reasonable. Gotta look after your own first. They're certainly, well, not looking after their own, but they're certainly not looking after you.
It's look after my own and look after the rest of the world, and if it happens that requires every single one of those guys being left behind, fine.
So be it. The ship comes around and pulls into the cove, and what first appears to be the reflection of the setting sun reveals itself to be flickering flames of a huge gout of fire that is beginning to consume the house on the shore.
Oh, wow.
The boat gets closer, and you can see parked along the driveway is the automobile that the cultists arrived in. The door is open, and there are no visible survivors. From this far, you can't see any significant damage. There's certainly no one driving. The barn, the house rather, is ablaze, and the shed just nearby it is beginning to spark. It's in the early stages of being destroyed. Based on how you saw when you came around, actually you wouldn't be able to have been, you don't know how long it's been burning. The boat lashed to the jetty remains where it was, half sunken, and you immediately begin to get that feeling, that sickness, particularly Gaspar at the prow, as you see sort of almost oil slick winding along just beneath the surface. But to see more, you'll need to come ashore.
Do we see no sign of any of the actual no people?
Not visibly, not from here. Not with the fire and everything, it's hard to make out. You can't see footprints or anything. You'd need to get closer to take it in.
Get ashore quick. The fire's going to be destroying stuff we're going to want.
That's the one. Gotta go.
Do you want to try and bring the boat straight in against the beach? It will be harder to leave. Or you can try and tie it onto the jetty, but that will be alongside the other vessel.
Captain, I think that's it. I reckon the beach. I don't think we're planning. If we're forced to run away in a bad situation, then something's gone really wrong.
We have to beach it. We have to beach it. We have to stay away from that jetty. It'll be tough to get her back out again, but
okay.
It's doable.
Can I ask you, Bernie, to give me a pilot boat roll? And what's everyone else doing as this happens?
My job is boat.
I'm gonna. I think the best thing is I am supporting this role, this piloting by doing whatever the captain needs done with the engines, making sure that it is either got a bit more welly in it if we need to push through, or taking the gas out of it if we need to get it shifting. I think there's also an element of the boiler drives the engines that drive the rudders. There is a connection there. So if I can be solely focused on this in order to improve whatever role is being made, I would like to do that. Otherwise, I'm just doing it narratively instead. Yeah.
So that we don't beach ourselves too much or too little.
Okay, yep. Luce assists with the boat coming in, remaining below deck for the time.
Because what I'd like to do is get us kind of just beached at an angle where we can lash the fishing boat to the start of the jetty to prevent it from drifting away, but so that it's not so beached that we can't unhook and get out relatively easily.
You can just drop an anchor and then jump down into the shallows, and wade to shore will be the safest, and that keeps you removed from the jetty. And with that successful pilot boat roll, you'll be able to do so without actually beaching the vessel. It's a short way out and still slightly drift. And given you're also planning to leave Joe here, he can monitor it. And worst case, someone just needs to give it a bit of a push as you head away. Unless the tide rises significantly and deposits you, there should be little risk. The boat begins to come in.
Can I take a bonus dice if Luce is helping?
You can take a bonus dice, but you are set with this is so within your wheelhouse. A success gets it too.
That gets me a hard. So
and a hard success does it even.
Just keep that one in the back pocket.
Even more secure.
Horribly wrong on the way out.
Noted. Okay. Gaspar and Paul, what are the two of you doing as you come in?
I got my spyglass. I can look. I can spot all that is hidden with my little spyglass.
Okay.
Sitting, looking for movement, fleeing cultists, life.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Monsters.
So it's a small bay with the building currently beginning, quite very much a fire, the jetty and the boat to the side. There is the car in the distance, and towards the left you can see the woods, which would head back towards Greyport. There are cliffs on either side of the bay, and above it on the right you can see yet more woods continuing. Is there any particular area you want to focus on?
I think the house, in the windows,
Okay. Can you give me a
inside?
Can you give me a spot hidden roll, and you can take a bonus dice?
Fantastic. I'll need it. I ain't got it. This seems like 4 points of luck wouldn't go astray.
Okay.
Which brings me down to 21.
Okay.
That's
I will
fine.
come back to that in just a moment. Paul.
I have I try to be cheerful, despite my recent melancholy after having been shot at. And I've noticed, I think, that there's a bit of tension on the ship. I would like to be with Gaspar, and I just sort of go like, "Wow, good job looking through that spyglass. Wow, you are helping." I just try to smooth things over a little bit with the tension of things, and try to rebolster a little camaraderie in the crew. I pull out the packet of cigarettes that I bought at the start of this chapter. I have smoked 2 of them. I don't even like these. Would you like them?
Do you think you're receptive, Gaspar, or more focused on your own? It's probably more distracting than helpful.
Yeah.
I wasn't suggesting that they gave you.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I got a job to do.
Yeah. I'm kind of rebuffed then.
I'm hoping that in the rebuff it will be a bolstering event. Like sometimes, yeah.
An opportunity to say no. Okay. Gaspar, as you scan the house, trying to push Paul's offer of cigarettes, say no, out of the way, it's actually just the luck of being nudged a little bit that you catch just the faintest shift of movement and then snap the telescope across. You don't see the detail of whatever it was, but you saw the door just click closed. And then you think you saw just a shimmer of something on the inside within the now burning house. Something moved within.
I'd call that out.
Okay.
Someone's home.
And not leaving the burning building.
Yeah.
Boat comes in, and if you wish, you can disembark.
Let's do it.
Quietly. I would rather do this stealthily than quickly.
One by one.
Do we want a man with a gun with us? Because that feels like maybe not the worst thing in the world.
I would like a man with a gun at the prow of the ship, covering us from behind and making sure nobody steals our ship.
Yeah, or that he could he can warn us with a flare if he spots another boat coming in off the coast or whatever.
He can also shoot from here.
I love a heavily armed lookout.
Look, if you can shoot from here, great.
Or not into the house,
I
but
feel
like around.
Yeah, if we're piss-bolting back in the direction of the boat being chased by something or someone, he can take a couple pot shots.
Hopefully someone.
Sure. Look, fingers crossed.
Out of the two?
I feel like there's a house on fire.
Yes.
This feels like a good time for a fire axe.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah,
This is what you trained for.
Appropriate.
I mean, no, I am better hitting someone with a wrench or grappling or doing any of that than I am with an axe. But just to have something on hand that allows us to break through burning or even not burning wood, plaster more effectively,
etc.
That's probably more what I'm bringing it for at the moment. I think currently where my skill set is and where my luck resides, I don't know if Luce will be using this as much as a weapon, as much as it is just a removal of obstacles that are less likely to fight back.
Yep. Reasonable.
So we'll also have wrench, to like the standard tool belt with the smaller tools.
Yeah.
And the usual accoutrement of some kind of lantern, torch, thick coat, steel cap, boots, etc.
I think the goal is for us to see if they're doing the ritual somewhere out of sight, somewhere that we couldn't see from the deck of the boat. It's priority 1 is hopefully they're still trying to do a ritual and we can stop it, or hopefully they have not begun. Stop the ritual. So find people is probably number 1.
Forgive, Dave, I'm a little... I know you did actually tell us somewhat that the Order of the Stone had some kind of thing that they could do to, put the things maybe back.
They were working on it. Michelle was working on it, and so basically get in touch with me after this is resolved.
But the ideal scenario is that we prevent them from being able to do this ritual within the time frame that they have to do it in, not destroy the urn or get it or any. It's just Make sure they need to wait another month. Even if they get away with the urn, we have a month.
That's
It's fine.
right.
Yeah, ideally we get the urn and we take it to Michelle. But if not, the main thing is we stop the ritual.
Disrupt it. So that
because
they
then that gives us more time.
Yeah.
The fire is not inspiring hope in me here though.
No. And it's probably within the next few hours or so it will burn the house completely down and there'll be nothing left.
I think we
around the house, and I think we go for the shed.
Yeah, barn. I was about to say. I reckon we want to check that as quickly as possible.
Okay.
We
Luce.
probably want to do a quick spot check, of what if we move past the house to be do we see any
The shed
figures that look definitely deceased?
Shed's just nearby on the side. You'll be able to basically get a sense of everything. Luce slides down the anchor line first and splashes into the water, which rises up to about mid-thigh and then heads towards shore. The water's cold but cool and familiar to each of you. Gaspar follows, and Paul and Captain Grain each landing on the shore and looking back to see the foggy sea remaining where it is, with Joe steadfastly stationed on the deck and watching for danger. The gun clearly displayed.
A bit of a salute as we go, just as a see you when we get back, knowing fully that there's a chance that doesn't happen.
You get half of a nod. Towards your left, you can see the jetty going further out and that mostly sunken boat. There's something off about the whole area. It's just lying dead on the ground like a carcass of some huge, dead on the ground beneath the waves, like some carcass of a felled beast. And as you track from that, you can see there are tracks, markings in the gravel along the shore, where it looks as though something has moved up along the beach. You can also see more disturbances than just that. There's, it's hard to tell distinct footprints, given the gravel kind of just, creates small holes and things, but it looks as though people have been around the area and disturbed it. And you can see a set of tracks, car tracks further up that are possibly not related to the automobile that's presently parked there. As you walk, making your way in the general direction of the shed and the house ablaze, you begin to feel the warmth of it emanating over you and the crack of wood as it begins to splinter and threaten to collapse. As you do, Paul, you'll feel something roll just underneath your boot print, and when you look down, there are expelled rounds from a weapon. Quite a large number of them just here. The guess would be the Tommy gun, which seems to have been fired. You can't immediately tell what it impacted. There's no sign of blood, just here at least.
They started shooting. I mentioned and kicked one of the rounds.
Inspires even less confidence.
My only concern is we've been working under the impression that these things, that the thing in the water can't leave the water. That seems to be how we've been approaching things, and maybe it's occurred to other people, but I feel like it's just occurring to me now that this thing might be able to leave the water, and in that case, that's going to be a bit more of a problem.
Well, having the car could be good. Anything we can do to get it running might give us more mobility across the ground, or
I don't
worst
think
case
it's running.
scenario, slam into something at top speed.
I think we just have to go. We have to find out what happened to the cultists, where this is at, and then make a decision, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is stopping whatever it is that they're doing. If we manage to take a bunch of people out while we do it, well, fantastic. But if we don't, well, then at least they've got 30 more days they have to wait before they can try again.
I reckon if we split just enough to two grab the car, two go to the barn, then we could rally and take the house as a four. That'd be my suggestion. But otherwise, we just go.
Captain?
Is the house at the point of being burned or on fire that it's highly unlikely that anybody who's still in there is alive, or is it?
You'd have to be
engulfed, or is it going up?
It is in the process of being engulfed. So you could, you guys would be like, we can get in there, do a quick investigate, and then get the hell out. Sure hope nothing goes wrong and we get trapped in there for long. The shed is
Well,
less so, it's safer. So someone
yeah,
could have
okay.
gone in to get something important. Like if you had a good reason, you might, as a trained fireman or nut job, go in. You guys can decide which
And all
one
we
of those
really have to
you are.
do then is watch for people coming out. If anybody's in there, they're either going to leave or die. So we kind of just have, in terms of the house, we kind of just have to keep an eye on it. So I think, yeah, car,
The only thing would be if there's anything in
Car
there of
shed.
note that they want to retrieve.
car, shed, and you know what? If they've gone into a burning building to retrieve something, we can relieve them of it upon their exit, or sift through the ashes and their bones.
Okay.
I think I'm going to, yes. Luce, can you please just keep a weather eye on the end of that dock for me? Just every so often, if you could just cast a glance in that direction.
Aye.
I'm not sure if anybody else felt it when we were coming in, but there is something there. And I don't want it creeping up on us from behind.
Right.
Same. Paul, same to you with the house. Just give it a glance. Make sure, Gaspar too,
Can do, boss.
make sure nobody runs out of it and gets away without our noticing.
Right.
Okay.
Car, shed. Stay low, stay quiet. Look out for each other, yeah?
I got him.
Okay.
Gaspar, you're particularly good with that little with the symbol. So, I think I don't know if this. I don't entirely understand how it works, but if you've got the ability to give us something we can move around with, you know, just to give us an edge in case something comes at us, that'd be grand.
Hang it on the front of the car.
That means we need to stay near the car. I'm thinking we have something that we can
True.
move around with. If there's something that one of us can hold on to so that, you know, the rest of us are close to the radius of the thing not being able to get at us, is more
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
guess.
thinking.
I feel like I could do one more, but then I might be tapped. It kind of takes it out of me to ride it.
No, if you can, that'd be grand. But I'm not asking you to overextend yourself.
Well, no,
You what?
I feel like I could do it one more time. You know, if I had to describe it numerically, I'd say that I have 8 units of writing ability, and I feel like it regenerates at a rate of about 1 unit per hour, and estimating just like I think writing it would probably take about 4 units at a time, and I've already done it once. So I could do it one more time in the next, let's call it 4 hours.
Why
This
not?
bit went too long.
Weird how specific that is.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, is there any...
So I'm just saying, maybe, save it for just in case we need another one.
There's little writing implements, but Gaspar, what you could do is the gravel could be, if you did it on a large enough scale, you could just like drag it around in the dirt and do like a ground one. Otherwise, paint from the boat, you'd have to retrieve it, or you could get Joe to chuck it to shore.
You gonna tell us you painted one on yourself?
Did just say I could do one more, and Luce did clock that and did not say anything.
I'm not gonna dub him in, but noted.
But yeah, just keep me with you, and I'll I can probably do it pretty quick.
All right. Well, did you want to?
Those two head of the car.
Yeah, are we splitting or are we doing everything together?
Who's the car squad?
I mean, I'm going to assume it's me.
And therefore, Gaspar, why don't you go with Luce?
Alrighty.
Okay.
Yeah, if the car is furthest away from the dock, I'm also probably pretty keen to keep Gaspar away from the thing in the water.
Luce and Gaspar head up towards the car, while Paul and Bernie, you head to the shed. Is that right?
Yeah.
Casting a quick glance into the house if we can on the way.
Okay. Luce and Gaspar, you get towards the automobile. You can see doors open and no one inside. All of the rifles and equipment have been removed. You can see the case that held the Tommy gun has been. He probably didn't even grab the case. They wouldn't have brought it with him. Seems like no weapons are still within. They went out, and they have not returned. There is no sign of damage to the vehicle, but there's no one nearby to operate it. As you stand and have a bit of a look around the area, though, you will see up towards the woods, heading away further from Greyport, there is a bush that is fully crumpled over, as if something large hit it and went down. And you think you can make out just general scuffs and things that headed towards it. Gaspar, you've tracked these sorts of things before. You found them in the woods. Seems as though something may have gone that direction. The car seems to be perfectly functional, loose. If you turn it on, you're pretty sure you can drive it away.
Right.
What do the two of you want to do? You want to head back towards the others, or let's get general intense?
I could draw another symbol in here in case anyone needs to get away.
I mean, if you think that's worthwhile, then I'm gonna
At least that way, if we get split up, then we've got the boat and the car.
Hey, that's a good idea. All right. Let me. I think I mostly remember how to, put this thing together, so I can probably help you, if you need it.
I've already started.
Are you just keying it into the bonnet?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Again, if we're gonna do it that way, the idea of
somewhere on the inside of the.
You could open the bonnet and do it on the inside of the thing would be cool.
More on the dashboard. So
that's
the
cool.
actual
So it'd be a
inside.
smaller one. Yep. Cool. All right.
You can do it big, on the dashboard, steering wheel.
Look, there's only so much space. The last thing we did was feet wide. You get it as big as you can on the inside. There's not that many flat surfaces that are
Honestly, the underside of the engine is not a terrible idea because it's a big flat piece of metal, and while I don't have a welding implement on me, I am familiar with metal.
Yeah.
Between the two of us, we can probably get something.
It's not going to get scuffed or scratched, and from the inside you can't see it from the outside.
You
and
just flip the bonnet up and it shows.
I mean, I'm assuming it doesn't need to be visible for the thing to
I wouldn't think so. No, it just says.
I believe it needs
the
to be
creature can't come within 12 feet of it.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it doesn't. Cool.
Oh, sorry, not 12 feet. 5 feet.
Even better. Yeah. All right. The two of you begin to work on that as Paul and Bernie go past the house and towards the shed. Yeah, Jimbo.
One clarification, very quickly. All the guns are gone. We think that the injured one is still. Took a gun and went in.
Seems so. Or departed earlier. Actually, as the two of you get there, you'll probably see some blood on one of the back seats where they were in here for a period at least. And actually, there's probably a ball of bloodied gauze where they did a patch job and then up and at them.
Sure.
When you say that there's a bush that's been scuffed, is that
fully
from the house?
Really quite pushed up, something quite heavy went through it.
And that's away from the house, back towards the
house is flanked by woods to the north and west. This one, the west goes back towards Greyport. This one went up towards the northeast, so away from Greyport.
Okay, so there's the. I think Luce will turn to Gaspar while they're doing this and just note. We've both seen the bush to the north and be like, do you think maybe they went elsewhere to do this ritual and they aren't here anymore? Is that possible? We're making an assumption it's happening in that house, but you tracked the cultists, the Order of the Stone pretty well before. What do you reckon? Luce very much leaning on boosting Gaspar's confidence a little bit by asking for opinions and getting and kind of acknowledging that he has actually had some pretty successful endeavors.
I mean, the spell that they had was about making fire that could hurt the monster, and the house is on fire. The fact that they didn't come back to the car probably means Something went wrong.
We'll find out. Maybe worth.
So I guess they did what they were trying to do, but who knows if it succeeded.
All right. Well, if the other two don't find anything in the shed, it's probably worth mentioning this to them. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other two go past the going past the house. You can see that flame is beginning to consume the interior. A quick glance through the windows, you can't see much. It's very hard to like make out the difference between shadow and light in there. It's constantly flickering around, but looks as though there's some tables and a bed, some chairs that have been kind of just pushed out of the way. It doesn't look like a massive like things being chucked around, and also just like general like piles of blankets and crates and stuff like that, just sort of supplies and things. The fire looks as though it started on. It's hard to tell. It's only just beginning to consume the interior. It looks more on the outside than the in, as though like the roof or something was lit. Not sure. Heading towards the shed, you find it closed but unlocked. And when you push it in, you can see that this is a small like workman's shop, mostly woodworking, and the sign of a number of tools that have been removed and laid out. As you get closer, you can see that some of the chisels have like red, ruddy brown against them, where they have been used seemingly as improvised knives and have dried blood still smeared across them.
Cool.
Dried
That is
blood,
not what I
though,
expected.
not recent.
Not recent.
This would have been done a little bit ago. As you get closer, actually, you can see there's like little like dried like little beads of skin and muscle along them still as well. And something grim occurred. You'll also find along the ground, amongst like the sawdust and detritus, there are peels of like wax or something that's been like taken off something.
Wax.
Like a seal.
Yeah.
A seal on a jar.
Oh no.
Okay, well,
Might be too late.
Even if they unseal the jar, I assume there's still a ritual that has to be done at the right time, and we did conclude that time hadn't happened yet. Maybe question.
it's fruit of the house then. The one thing I'm thinking is that there might be somewhere hidden. I originally saw this chisel and thought they'd been digging through red soil or something. Can I take a quick spot hidden check? Just I am looking for a cellar in below the barn is what my immediate brain goes to. I just do a quick scan for one of those and then ready to run and rejoin the others. Spot hidden comes as a success.
Okay. Nothing in here. No subterranean sections. Given the nature of the beach, you would need to build it further away. If there is a cellar, it would be underneath the main house.
Yeah. And I'm proceeding assuming there is one, but there's no like I know that some of the American style houses have those like side doors, like a cellar door outside.
Not that you can see at least.
Sure.
It backs onto the cliff. No, not realistically, because it would have been visible from the car if it was there, because that's where trucks could unload into. So no, it doesn't seem so.
Let's burning house time.
Well, we're not going to be able to go in there.
Do you want to gather everyone, or are you just pulling out to the others?
Yeah.
As we gather everybody.
Regroup.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, it's probably worth mentioning there's disturbances to the north. It's very likely they're not here anymore. They went elsewhere to do what they needed to do.
Well,
There is some grim stuff in that shed. It looks like they've taken the seal off something, probably the urn, and have done some unpleasant things to people with chisels.
As you point out,
I don't know the purpose of that. I don't remember seeing or reading or anyone mentioning anything like that, but with this lot, who the hell knows?
wax dries, right? Like it exposed to air, and if it was a seal, can we tell if it was just unsealed?
I'd need like a science roll or a forensics or something. I think that's a bit beyond you, sorry.
Art and craft paint.
It's closer. I think still probably not though.
Yeah.
as you're pointing out the disturbance to the north now with your there and taking a moment to look at it, it's not just a track that's gone through. It looks as though there is something heavy in the bush still weighing it down.
Oh. Well, we gotta get there.
Go have a look.
Okay.
The car is ready to go and has a little extra protection.
Did you cast that,
Wonderful.
Gaspar?
Yes,
Okay.
done.
Gaspar's now
we
in
should
his
take the car everywhere. It's just an extra layer at this point, and quicker.
I mean, if we need to go if it looks like we're going to be going further north, like considerably, it may actually be worth getting in the car and taking that, just because walking is going to take us some time depending on how far away they are. But
But we can see the bush being like held down by something now.
yes, but we can't see a circle of people doing a ritual,
No.
which is what I'm looking out for. So they're unless they're all dead, they're somewhere else.
Yeah.
Maybe.
As you they head up towards the
I would
obstacle.
like to hang back a little bit and it sort of I'm not gonna demand or anything, but I'm gonna hang back a little and kind of body language try and encourage Gaspar to hang back a little behind, like with me, so the other two are going a bit ahead to investigate.
Sure.
I would not
Just in
protest.
case this happens to be a dead body or just something the captain said look out for bad things and also look out for Gaspar, and Luce is taking that on board. So would like to sort of be a little further back, give Gaspar the opportunity to be a bit further back, and also just be there in case something happens. I think maybe also like if there's a moment to have a very brief word with Gaspar while we're sort of looking over things.
I'm gonna draw this session to a close in a moment, so I might set the scene for next week, and we might come back in with that conversation and others. So, Gaspar, you're okay to hang back with Luce?
I would welcome.
You're
the
possibly still
opportunity to
finishing
not
off.
Die.
Yeah.
It's also an element of I'm big, and I'm kind of being there like the offer of protection is there if you need it.
Never say no.
Luce and Gaspar hang back to conclude the ritual, double check things, and have a conversation as Paul and Bernie head towards the slumped thing in the bushes. As you get closer, it's clear that this is a body. One of the cultists, their brown robes bunched up around them. But you can see signs of bullets dug into the ground around them, and even in some of the trees nearby. As you get towards the cultist and go to investigate them and move them over, you'll see the robes begin to fall back and away and reveal a huge puckered wound in their sternum, where something lampreyed straight through the cloth, skin, muscle, and bone beneath to reveal plain against the setting sun their pink, fleshy heart. And as you look down towards it, it thumps once and bursts.
Cool.
Black ichor
Good.
sprays across the ground, and a tendril of something long and toothed erupts forth from it, straight towards the two of you. From further up in the woods, you hear a scream and the rattle of gunfire. And from behind you, on the boat, you hear a shout and bang, bang, bang. 3 gunshots that come from presumably Joe Evans. There's a creak and the roof begins to collapse on the burning house. And that's where we will leave this session.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Oh my god.
Alrighty.
All things at once.
Okay, so we got a bit to come back to next week. We hope you'll join us then. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you to the cast for casting. We'll
Thank
be
you, Dave,
back
for
here.
keeping.
Thank you. We'll be back
Thank
here.
you, Dave, for daving.
We'll be back here, same time, same place. We very much hope we will see you then. A ciao.